I'm Piaget Jenkins. In this video, I would like to demonstrate the functionality of drive substitutes for RES Workspace Manager 2011. Drive substitutes are used to view and substitute drives that are available to your users. The substitute is dependent upon the status of its network connection. So for example, this may be very useful for laptop users who need to have a valid home directory mapping like H, even when they're not connected to the corporate network. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing we want to do here is navigate to Composition and then Files and Folders, and then Drive and Port Mappings. Now the reason I take you here is because if you look down here in the bottom left hand corner, you're going to see the default drive hide behavior, and what you want to do is you want to make sure that it's already selected on do not hide any drives unless otherwise specified. That's because we want to make sure that the drive is not hidden for the drive substitute, and as you'll see when we configure the substitute, it's going to have its default setting, which is actually going to pull from this setting here. So once that's taken care of, we want to come back up here and navigate to drive substitutes, and then we want to make sure it's enabled as usual, and then you're going to see this box here, refresh drive substitutes when network connectivity changes. Let's go ahead and check that and click apply. Now the reason we check that is we want to make sure that the composer reanalyzes the context of the user each time their network connectivity changes, and this is especially important for laptop users who may be on a corporate network at one moment and then off into another context at the next. Now once that's selected, we want to actually go ahead and configure our drive substitute. So to do that, we want to navigate down here to the Add button, and then once again we make sure it's enabled. We can add an administrative note, test as usual, and then here we can configure the virtual drive letter. So you can choose any drive letter you like. We'll just go ahead and choose J here, and as I mentioned before, we have the hide drive behavior, and it's going to be on default, which is what it pulls from the drive and port mapping settings. Next, we want to go ahead and choose the actual physical drive and path. Now, for our example here, we're just actually going to navigate to program files to make it simple. So let's go ahead and navigate down to program files, and we're going to choose that for our user. Now, when it comes here to required connection state, because a lot of times this may be configured for laptop users, or if you may even be considering laptop users or any type of network connectivity change, we want to make sure that it's configured for an online connection. Now, by default, an online connection is defined as a connection when that machine has an IP address. So if it has IP address, then it's online. If it is not, then it's offline. That can be tweaked and to your desire in a different area, but for now we're just going to leave it an online connection. And then as usual, we can add access control or workspace control if we desire. We want to leave it for everyone here. Let's go ahead and click OK. Now that we have our drive substitute configured, let's go ahead and take a look and see how it works for our user. Okay, so let's get logged on with our test user. Okay, now that we're all logged in here, let's navigate to the computer, and we can see that the local disk J is now there as the drive substitute. If we open it up, we can see that it actually points to the program files on the local machine. Alright, so now that we've seen that, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to disconnect the network connection for this VM, and then we're going to log in with the user once again. So let's go ahead and log off. Alright, we've logged back in with our test user, and the network adapter has been completely removed. As you see here, A. Johnson. Alright, so let's go to his drives, and we can see that the drive substitute local disk J is no longer available to him, and that's because his context has changed to an offline connection. So that about does it, folks. Thanks again for viewing. This has been Drive Substitutes for RES Workspace Manager 2011.